Have you ever played a game that you didn't know how to play when you were younger, and you used to think was so hard, and to you, you thought it was very boring, and then after you played it for the first time, you're like, whoa, this actually isn't that bad? Well, I have, and almost 2 months ago, I started playing the game chess, and at first, when I was asked if I wanted to play, I was like, no, this sounds boring, and then they're like, sure, let's just try. So I tried, and I ended up loving the game. So the first thing you need to know is which pieces are which, because obviously you can't play if you don't know which pieces are which and you can't move them, and you also need to know where they can move, and then you also want to know how to win, and the most important thing is to make sure that your king does not get checkmated, which obviously if it gets checkmated, you lose. So the first thing you want to know is which pieces are what. So first your king, which is located in the center of the board on your side, and it can move up one space to the side or kitty corner or back one space, but it can only move one space. And like I said before, it is the most important piece on the board. And you also have your bishop, which is on either side of the king and queen. And there's two bishops, and your bishop can only move diagonal, back or forward, and it can go pretty much as far as it wants, as long as it is not blocked by any other of your teammates, I guess you could say. And then you also have your queen. Your queen is another royal member and is another important piece. I personally like to use my queen to block any other of my opponent's members, just that way they don't take my king. So, and then you also have your rook. There is 2 rooks, and your rook can go up or down, but it has to stay in a straight line. It cannot go kitty corner or anything like that. It can go, like I said, up or down, or back, whichever. And then if it's in this line, it can go to the right or left as long as it can. And as far as it wants, again, unless it's blocked by another one of your teammates. And then you have 8 pawns, which are not royal members, and they go in front of all your royal members. So your pawns, the first time you touch a pawn, you can move it 1 space or 2, whichever you prefer. And the only way it can move diagonal is if you are going to attack. And I recently found out, when I first started playing, I didn't know you could use a pawn to checkmate your king, which is very interesting because I never thought you could. But I personally like to just use my royal members to checkmate my king, but you can use your pawn. And then you also have 2 knights. The knight is personally my favorite because it can move up 1 space and over to the left or right 2 spaces, or it can move up 2 spaces and over to the left or right 1. And I like this one because it can move a lot faster up to the board, and I find it really interesting. Another interesting thing about the pawn, which I should have mentioned, is if it gets to your opponent's side on the royal row, then it can turn into a queen or any other royal member, obviously except for the king. And but the only way it can do that is if your opponent has taken out that specific royal member. So one of the most important things you need to know is you have to really pay attention to where your king is and where your opponent's pieces are. When I first started playing, I had such a hard time paying attention to my king that I would lose because I was paying attention to my opponent's pieces and never paying attention to mine. So you want to try and stay out of trick spaces like this. So say this is me, or say, okay. So say this is me, for example, or this is me, sorry. I am trapped right here because I cannot get out and my opponent can easily attack me from each way. So I'm checkmated there. So you want to try and stay out of trick situations like that. So you want to go overhead, please?
Just tighten it up. Yeah. No, up there, on the other side.
Want me to stop?
I'm so sad.
That's it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so right here we have the setup. So your king goes right here, which is, and then all your pawns are up here, and then all your royal members are on either side. You have your bishop right here, your knight, your rook, and then your queen right here, and then your pawns. So that's pretty much the setup of which order they go in. And so I've learned that playing chess actually really challenges your brain, and it has really made me think about everything, and not just while playing this game, but everything like in life, like life situations. And it has really made me think of really how fun this game actually is, which I used to think it was the most boring, and honestly when I was younger I used to think it was a stupid game. So if you really take the time to play and learn how to play it, I think you would really have a lot of fun playing it.